So the first thing you're probably going to notice is that I do not have long hair anymore. I chopped it all off, got some layers in there. I'm in love with it. I got 8 inches total off, and I'm just so happy. I literally cannot get enough of it. I'm so happy. But anyway, welcome back to my channel, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Kendall, if you don't know already, and today I'm going to be picking out my November TBR. And when I say picking out, I literally mean picking out because I only know one book that I really want to get to in November, and the rest I'm just going to be browsing my shelves for. The life of a mood reader. I also just want to say, if the lighting seems a little bit dark in here today, it's very stormy and very overcast here, so I'm trying to go off natural light, but we may have to turn a lamp on or something and get some more light in here if it gets to be too dark. So I'm just going to go ahead and start off with the TBR I have for the Gilmore Girls Readathon, which, if you don't know, is a readathon that is happening next week starting November 7th through the 13th, and it is going to be hosted by some of the biggest, if not the biggest, Gilmore Girls fans around. So you have Liv from Liv's Library, and you have Heather from Bookables, and you also have Mackenzie from the Literary Lane, and Darlin Desi, who is also a big part of the Gilmore Girls Readathon. She won't be participating this year, but she was, like, I think the brainchild of this operation. I've never participated in it. I have never watched Gilmore Girls until this year, and I'm getting close to being done with the entire show, so I'm hoping that I can finish it this coming week between now and the start of the readathon to finish it and, like, be done so I know everything and can participate in, like, trivia games that they have, stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm going to tell you guys what my TBR is based on the prompts that they have come up with. So the first 2 prompts are read a book set in a small town and read a book with family drama. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up When the Crow's Away by Auralee Wallace. This one, as you know, is set in a small town called Evenfall, and it's also got a lot of family drama, especially I think in this one because this is the sequel to In the Company of Witches, which I read last month, or yeah, last month now. I read in October for the Cozy Hollow Book Club, and it was so good, and I had to pick up the second one, so I wanted to fit this into my November TBR, like, right away. And all I know about this one is that Bryn is working with magic, and that her and her aunt are kind of back and forth with each other about her trying to get back out there and find love, even though she's a widow. She's just not ready, or, you know, doesn't feel ready yet. So I know that that's the family drama that goes on, and I don't know much else about these. A lot of these I want to go in blind to try and see what they are, especially with Cozy Mysteries, to see what what I like and what I don't like, and just kind of figure out what my tastes are with this genre. So very excited for this to be part of it. And I will go ahead and tell you that most of my TBR for this readathon contains Cozy Mysteries, so if you want to know any more about the Cozy Mysteries that I have, you can go back to my last video where I did, like, a book haul of them, and you can watch. I talked a little bit about what they're about and why I picked them up. But the next prompts are read a book set during fall or winter and read a book with leaves on the cover. So I'm going to go with The Dark and Stormy Murder by Julia Buckley. And this is the first in her series. This one takes place in, like, a big house. I think that this girl is wanting to work on her author, like, her writing skills as an author, and so she finds this mystery writer and takes an internship kind of with her and goes to live in her house, but something happens where somebody ends up dead, which is fairly common in Cozy Mysteries, I've learned. So I'm very excited about this one. It kind of feels like dreary, and like it says, a dark and stormy murder. So it feels like the perfect read for November. The next prompt is to read a book with complicated love interest, and I am picking up The Wicked Deep by Shea Ernshaw. Olivia has highly recommended this book. A lot of people who are really big fans of Shea Ernshaw have recommended this to me, and I think it's now time for me to pick it up. This kind of sounds like if Hocus Pocus was a very dark story. So you have these 3 witches that were burned, you know, centuries ago, and they come back every year and possess the bodies of different girls to try and lure men to die the way that they died. So you have our main character, Penny. She's kind of like, what's gonna happen is gonna happen, and she kind of just accepts the fate of whatever is gonna happen to her or the rest of the town. But then she knows that this guy named Beau has come into town, and he has no idea what he has gotten himself into. I don't know much else about it besides that. I know that the last line of the synopsis sounds really intriguing to me. It says, "But only Penny sees what others cannot, and she will be forced to choose, save Beau or save herself." That sounds pretty complicated to me. So I'm very excited to dive into this one. It's going to be a quick read. I can already tell, just because 1, it's pretty short, and 2, it's young adult fantasy, which I tend to fly through. So I am very excited about this one. And the last prompt is to read a book by an Asian author or a book that has Asian representation. And mine kind of has both. It's written by an Asian author, and it has Asian representation in it. So mine is Death by Dumpling by Vivien Chien. All I know is that this takes place in a noodle shop, and I just have always been drawn to this book, even when I wasn't reading cozy mysteries. Just like this book in general, I just love the title of it. I love the look of it, and I'm just so ready to get into it. It just looks like it's going to be a really fun time. And the girls have picked As Seen on TV by Meredith Schorr for their buddy read pick. It even says on the front cover of this by the author Abby Jimenez, she blurbed it and said, "Adorable and steamy fun that's full of Gilmore Girls vibes." It definitely looks like it's gonna be Gilmore Girls vibes. So first off, it starts out with a journalist, and she's from New York City, and she comes, you know, from the big city and stuff like that to this really small town, which happens to be called Pleasant Hollow. I love that Hollow's the second word in it. And, you know, she meets kind of like this down-to-earth, really towny guy, and I just feel like that's all I know about it, and I'm already sold. And it already sounds like a Luke and Lorelai love story, and I am so excited for it. I feel like I'm like predicting high love for this book, so I hope that it does not disappoint. But that's my TBR for the Gilmore Girls Readathon. I know it's a bit much. I said that I was going to double up a lot more on prompts, which I did, and that I was going to pick a little bit shorter books, which I think that I did. So I hope that I can go ahead and get into those as soon as possible. I may even cheat a little bit and start the buddy read a little bit early, maybe this weekend. So I'm looking forward to it, and I just want to say thank you to the hosts who have put this all together. I know that hosting is a lot of work, and it is much appreciated because this is going to be an amazing readathon to participate in. So for the rest of the month of November, I have pretty quick reads. I feel like I have a few that I'm going to get started on as soon as I finish the books that I'm reading today, and we're going to go straight into November. So I just wanted to pull out a few that I'm not going to like go into detail on, because I've gone into detail about them before, and I just want to kind of get them out of the way so that I can get into detail about the rest of the books. So one of the first ones is a highly anticipated read for me, and it is Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo and Danny Pendergast. This is a part of the Grishaverse series, or Grishaverse universe, and it's a Shadow and Bone graphic novel that goes more into the Darkling and his past and who he is. I am in love with the cover. I think it's so pretty. But this is basically his origin story, honestly, and I think it's going to be a really good time. I think it's going to be exciting, and I'm ready to learn more about the Darkling, because if you don't know me, he is probably my least favorite villain in a young adult series. I hate villains most of the time. In young adult books, they really irk me, but this guy, the Darkling, does not have my heart. I do not find him, like, the only thing I find attractive about the Darkling is that Ben Barnes played him in the TV show, and that's it. That's literally it. I can't stand him. So I'm hoping that maybe this novel or graphic novel is going to give me more into why he is the way that he is, but I don't know. We shall see. I have high expectations for it, but we'll see what happens. And then I have some manga that I want to get to. I definitely want to get to Spy Family Volume 2. I only own Volumes 1 through 2, and I have read 1, and I really enjoyed it. It's high up there on probably one of my favorite manga series so far, and I've only read the first one. So it can only, I say it can only get better from here, but that's not always true. But that's what I'm hoping for. And so I'm really excited to get to the second volume and continue it. I also have the next 2 volumes of Witch Hat Atelier, which are 4 and 5. I've read 1 through 3 and I really love them. So I want to get to these next 2 because I really want to build up, you know, and get the whole series of all of these manga when I can. And these are really quick and simple reads in between books or in between moods with me trying to figure out what I want to read. So these will definitely be read at some point this month. This next book will probably come as no surprise that I want to get to it, and it is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanna. I feel like I have mentioned this in so many videos that I have put out there, but this book I want to read because it is actually part of Lexi's Patreon. If you have never been a part of that or you don't know what I'm talking about, I will leave the link to her channel, Alexandra Rosin, in the description below. But I am a patron of hers, and she does this book club every month, I think, or she does something with the book club. I'm kind of new to Patreon, so I'm still trying to learn it, but she's going to be doing a book club discussion on this sometime in November. So I really want to get this read and be a part of that because I love being a part of book clubs. It's my favorite thing. So I try to be a part of some, but you know, sometimes a lot is a lot, you know. This next book I added just because I have 3 of my friends, now 4 I think, that have read this book and absolutely love it. I know that Lauren and Elizabeth and Olivia and I think Rachel also love this book, and it is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. And they said that it is a good November read and that I would be perfectly fine reading this in November, even though I wanted to try and fit it in October. It's more of like a cozy horror read. I don't really know what I'm getting into here. This book is labeled as horror, but I've heard that that's not the exact vibes you get from it. I kind of want to go into this blind, but I know that it's a little bit dark, a little bit like dark humor, and I believe they said it kind of gives you Grady Hendrix vibes with the type of horror that it is. So you have your main character Annie, and she gets dumped by her boyfriend and she just wants to start anew. So she moves from this big city Manhattan to this small little town, and she finds it really nice and really comforting and cozy, except for she has a spider infestation, which, girl, I would have been out of there already. And then Annie meets Sophie, and Sophie wants Annie to be herself, and she wants Annie to start living her life for her and not worrying about anybody else except for her. But we don't know, is Sophie a witch? Is Sophie a witch? She probably is a witch. Annie notices that all the townspeople like stay away from Sophie and don't really get involved with her, so she gravitates towards her, but she's also like, something is fishy here. So I'm very excited to get into this. I am obsessed with the new cover. It looks so pretty. I know I'm all about these covers, y'all, but I cannot wait to get to this, and I just hope that it's all that my friends have hyped it up to be. The next book I want to get to is Shady Hollow by Juneau Black. This is the first in this series, and everybody has said it's really cute. My friend Lauren loves it. I have another friend, Megan, who loves it, and they just said that it's so cute and cozy, and it's these animals that are living in a small town. Let me explain a little bit better. This one has a pretty short synopsis, so I'm just going to read it to you guys so that I don't mess it up. The first book in the Shady Hollow series, in which we are introduced to the village of Shady Hollow, a place where woodland creatures live together in harmony, until a curmudgeonly toad turns up dead and the local reporter has to solve the case. Reporter Vera Vixen has a nose for news, so when she catches wind that the death might be a murder, she resolves to get to the bottom of the case no matter where it leads. As the fox stirs up still waters, she exposes more than one mystery and discovers that additional lives are in jeopardy. Vera's investigations unearth more about this town than anyone ever suspected. It seems someone in the Hollow will do anything to keep her from solving the murder, and soon it will take all of Vera's cunning and quickness to crack the case. Adorable. I love little woodland creatures, so this one is going to be good. I can already tell. The next one that I want to read is Trespassers by Claire McFall. This is the second in her series. The first one was Ferryman. This series came out in 2017, but she took them off the shelves basically and redid the covers, and she's putting them out there again. I really think that it was a good decision because this cover is gorgeous. I really enjoyed the first book, which I have talked about before, so this is the second installment of that. So the first book kind of follows this girl named Dylan who died in a train crash, and she meets Tristan, who is the ferryman that is supposed to take her from the point where she died to the afterlife, and she goes on this journey with him, and you dive deep into who Dylan is as a person, who Tristan is, and who he was and who he has been. It's a very complicated thing, and you definitely have to read the first one to understand what's going on in this one. I don't really know what's going on in this one, and I kind of want to keep it that way. Again, I really prefer going into books blind, but I just know that this is probably going to, more than likely, as sequels do, take place exactly where we left off with the first one, and the first one did end in a bit of a cliffhanger, so I've been waiting a while for this one, and I'm finally glad that it's out. And Tristan and Dylan are one of my favorite couples because in a YA series, because they are so different, and you just have to read the first book to know Tristan's backstory and who he is and what he is. And Dylan, she is just this amazingly brave girl who just she doesn't put herself before other people, but she also is very brave, and she will risk anything for people that she loves. And I just see a lot of myself in her, and I just love it. So I will be getting to this one pretty quickly in November. And the last book on my TBR, which happens to be, funnily enough, the first book that I'm going to start this month, is Finaly Donovan Knocks Them Dead by Elle Cosimano. This is the second book in the Finlay Donovan series, and Finlay Donovan is killing it. You are introduced to, of course, Finlay. She is a mom of 2 children, and she's divorced. She has a nanny who helps take care of her kids, and she is a writer. She has been like struggling with her writing, and she ends up accidentally taking an assassin job. Very difficult to explain, but she goes through, it's just so funny. You go through all of this stuff with her where she's trying to figure out how to get rid of a dead body, how to be a mom, how to deal with her divorce. There's so much going on in Finlay's life. There are these 2 men who have kind of been put in her life, and she's feeling an attraction towards both of them. So Finlay is dealing with a lot. She's juggling a lot in her life. She does have a nanny who is helping her with all of this stuff, even the assassin job. So I find it very hilarious. And Finlay Donovan, I think I read the first one at some point this year, and I flew through it really quickly. So I have no doubt that I will do the same with this book. It's just going to be a good time. I literally have so much fun with her, and I need to read this book before the end of the year because the third one, comes out in January or February, I believe. So I'm definitely going to hop on and get that book as soon as I can. So I want to get to this one, and I just think that this is going to be the perfect start for a reading month in November. But that is my ginormous TBR for this month. I know it's a lot. Some of them are manga and quick graphic novel reads, or just shorter books in general. And then I do have my Gilmore Girls Readathon books, so I feel like I can get through most of these. I'm going to try my hardest. I don't have a ton going on with school right now. I do have like a few things that I'm learning, but I don't have any major tests or exams or stuff coming up yet. So I'm going to take this downtime that I have in school and in work and in life and just read as much as possible and take advantage of it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.